So
I just need one copy.
one.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'll call the council meeting to order. And the first thing I'm going to ask for is agenda changes.
Mr. Mayor, nothing to add or delete from the agenda, but we would ask or recommend that the executive session be moved to the end of the meeting after the reports, just because we do anticipate that to be a longer executive session.
Council, anybody have an issue with that? No, we will move that to the end of our agenda tonight. All right, moving on. The first thing I'm going to ask for is approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion on that, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda for September 14th, 2020.
Second. And are we going to review these motions tonight, Ethan?
Sure, I can review it.
Would you like to review that one?
Sure. Motion by Councilmember Wallace to approve the consent agenda for September 14th, 2020, seconded by Councilmember Campbell.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, that passes.
Abstain here, as I wasn't here for the last meeting and I'm not aware of the minutes.
Fair enough.
So, abstain.
Next item is public forums. Is there anybody here who wishes to address the council tonight? Seeing no movement from the gallery, we'll move on to unfinished business, and we have none of that tonight, so we'll move on to new business. So first item under new business is a request from the Brick Streets Arts and Crafts Festival. Ethan will bring us up to par on that.
Thank you. I believe Tammy is here to address the council with kind of what they're looking for in terms of city support. So I will invite her to go to the podium and present.
Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. My name is Tammy Weber, and I'm here on behalf of the Halstead Arts and Crafts Festival Committee. And after much discussion and debate, we have decided to ask to go ahead and go forward and have the Arts and Crafts Festival this year. We've made some changes to it. It's been scaled back. And we are going to still set up between 2nd Street and 3rd Street on Main. But instead of the booths running down the middle of Main Street back to back, we're going to put them on opposite sides of Main Street, and we'll have space in between each booth. The festival is not expected to be as large this year. And we've also just cut back on like the kids talent show. We're not doing that. Let's see. We're hoping to have the event this the Saturday, October the 10th. And some of the things that we would be asking for is that Main Street be closed from 2nd Street to 3rd, starting at 6 a.m. on that Saturday. Let's see. We are also asking for 2 portable restrooms to be set up on Main Street. And a couple of other things that we thought that we would do a little bit differently this year is we're asking all of our vendors to have hand sanitizer at their booths for people to use, especially if they, run a cart or anything where there's stuff like that. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be asking the public to follow all the mask rules. And I think that's everything I've got. So just asking your blessing to continue.
Question, what's the time frame on that date?
We usually do, I feel like, is it 9 to 3 or something like that, I think? I feel kind of bad. I missed the meeting before having to come and do this. And so I was asking questions today and didn't quite get all of them answered.
You're doing great.
Thank you. That's one of the questions I did ask. But anyway, I feel like that was kind of the time frame last year.
Is 9 o'clock a.m., is that the opening of your festival?
Yes, I think
Because
it's
you'll probably want a little bit of time ahead of that to get set up.
right. They usually start coming to set up around 6 a.m. Yes. So we would probably need the street closed by 6 a.m. and so all of our vendors can set up.
We'll need a motion for that street closure. Do we need to add anything to that, Ethan, for the portable toilets, or is that just something we can handle?
No, you can just tack it on as a motion to approve, the request as presented. We know what to do.
Okay.
I think I talked to Harry Wilson and talked about maybe putting some, like with the chalk on the ground, like where 6 feet are. People can, so talk to social distance and have somebody go over 6 feet and sound.
Yeah, we could do that, we do something like that. That sounds like a good idea.
Say most likely, that I believe, the county commission hasn't decided, but I know it was in their discussion for tomorrow of extending the mask mandate through, I believe it was October 19th. So it would include your dates, just at the county level, I believe we'll still be under probably a mask order unless the commission will vote differently.
If there's no further comments, I would make a motion to approve the street closure provision for trash carts, portable toilets, and street closure that requested.
And now we will go to Jamie for that review.
Motion by Councilmember Farmer to approve the provision of trash carts, portable toilets, and street closers as requested, seconded by Councilmember Clausen.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I have a duty that day to,
Yes, sir. We were hoping you would still give us that honor of doing the mayor's pick, mayor's awards.
I think myself and my wife will look forward to walking through the fair and seeing if we can determine who that person will be. And it'll be fun for both of us, so thanks for coming tonight.
All right, well, that's awesome, and we'll get back to you with.
Yeah.
We have to authorize just spending and spending money.
I would make a motion to approve Mayor's Choice Award Festival in the amount of $250.
Second.
I didn't know we had a great motion. Well, Jamie, review that motion. I was unaware of this.
Motion by Councilmember Farmer to approve Mayor's Choice Award for Festival in the amount of $250, seconded by Councilmember Clausen.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It sounds like it's official now. I have a job.
We're not gonna let you run up down Main Street with a checkbook. There's a limit.
We weren't gonna object. I thought it was a great idea.
They've got to tie my hands. All right, council, let's move on to the next, consideration of resolution number 9/14/2020-4, dangerous and unfit structure. We'll let Ethan fill us in on that.
Thank you, council, as you saw in your packet. There's a letter from our building inspector regarding property at 322 Harvey. This has been a property that's been on radar in terms of code violations the last at least 5 years that I've worked for the city. And we continue to receive complaints on a regular basis, and this year have received more complaints from residents in the neighborhood around the property concerning wildlife, the overgrowth, the electric service being pulled away as a safety issue. So the inspector reviewed the property, put his findings there in that letter to you all. This resolution starts the process for dangerous and unfit, which you all hopefully remember from what we did with 204 Main. This is a residential property that we're talking about, but this at least would have notice that resolution gets published in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks. If you believe the inspector's letter warrants that, and we make notification to that property owner for to attend a show cause hearing, which with the dates we're working at would be during our meeting on October 26th, and all that is set by state statute, so that's the time frame. The earliest we could bring them in, it would coincide with our council meeting on that date. But this gets that process started, and then the property owner gets notified and would hopefully show up to that show cause hearing to either explain what they have planned for the property in terms to bring it up to code, or the council consider further remediation up to and including demolition of the structure.
Any questions, council?
I drove by it and And it's this description here. So if there's no other questions or discussion, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 09-14-2020-04, a resolution setting a date and time for a public hearing regarding 322 Harvey being a dangerous or unfit structure.
Got the motion and the second. We'll go to Jamie for that review.
Motion by Councilmember Torres to approve resolution number 09-14-2020-04, a resolution setting a date and time for a public hearing regarding 322 Harvey being a dangerous or unfit structure, seconded by Councilmember Farmer.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously as well. We will move on to our next item, which is consideration of MKC proposal regarding 204 Main.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, included in the packet is the proposal for engineering services at 204 Main. Basically, as we've talked, demolition is one of the options, but we do know with the two adjacent structures, we're going to have more than just demolition work. So to get the true cost of what the demolition option, we talked to the structural engineer. Because of the influx and changing nature of construction costs, they were not comfortable giving a probable cost, but said that their recommended action will be develop a scope of work and then use that to get like bids, for competitive bidding. So you have that cost there. That is what this does. The work they proposed, you can see, talks about, basically that plan work would be a new metal staircase that would replace the existing non-metal staircase. Again, was in his opinion the most cost-effective manner if you're going to address it. He said if we wanted to save it, that would be probably, you might as well just plan to repair. Same with shoring up the walls. It might not be the most aesthetically, and there is, but it would be metal stud and metal panel, which is again the cheapest. And not necessarily the one that would have to be the final, but it at least allows us to move forward once we get that scope of work to contact companies, because some of the demolition contractors we've talked to are more just in the demolition business. They will be able to do the site restoration or stabilization work. So this will allow us to contact those companies and have them all know what they're bidding and know that it's been looked at by an engineer and the plan is doable. So gladly answer any questions, but that's kind of where we're at, I think, in order to get council that information on what the true costs of the demolition option would be, which I know none of us are jazzed about having to spend another $7,500, but unfortunately, I think we're going to have to.
Well, I know that you've gotten some estimates on demolition without an engineering study. And to accept something like that would be extremely risky for the city. I think it's a very smart move. We could have done 3 buildings.
Yeah, and it is. It really isn't a necessary evil to do our due diligence on the front end of this so we don't make any mistakes.
I would make a motion to approve the proposal for services regarding 204 Main from MKC for an amount not to exceed $7,250. Authorization for the city manager to sign necessary documentation.
Second.
Go to Jamie for the review.
Motion by Councilmember Farmer to approve the proposal for services regarding 204 Main from MKEC for an amount not to exceed $7,250 and authorization for the city manager to sign necessary documents, seconded by Councilmember Campbell.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously. Next item under new business is consideration of CRF direct aid projects, and we'll go to Ethan for that.
Thank you. As you can see, the county did receive just shy of $7 million. I spoke to you at some previous meetings that I sat on the evaluation committee at the county level for the various direct aid plans by the cities and schools and nonprofits and other community groups. Halstead, we originally requested $290,606.80 as part of a direct aid plan. We were approved for $236,646.80 of that. They did unfortunately pull our fiber build out, but we all had to give up to make sure that all the other priorities were also funded. Basically, just looking, provided that list there of just for belt and suspenders, as there are some items on there that are normally over our spending authority. It is just for you all to re-bless those projects so that staff can get moving forward on them. Some of them, like the ventilators, we did bring independently to make sure we had the right lead time, but the rest of these we need to get moving on to get these done by the end of the fiscal year and get those put away as part of those spark funds. So.
Are these funds, are they needed to be expended or obligated?
The state's preference would be for them to be expended if for some reason we run into documentable and supportable supply chain issues. They might look at slight encumbrance of the funds, but they're really pushing for expenditure. So most of everything, the ventilators is why we came to you guys over a month ago on that, because we knew the lead time was so great and felt that that was such an important expenditure. The rest of these, all the vendors have put 10 to 12 weeks, so we feel we should be able to extend and be complete with the rest of them, barring any unforeseen supply chain issues.
The best part of this really allows us to make improvements that we've discussed for some time, and now it's really necessary to go with. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
I'll entertain that motion, council, if nobody else has any questions.
I'll make a motion to waive the city of Halstead purchase policies and to authorize staff to obtain goods and services with appropriate vendors as identified by staff, as well as sign and execute necessary documentation for projects as found on the CRF Direct Aid application as submitted by the city of Halstead and approved by Harvey County and the state of Kansas.
Second.
And we'll go to Jamie for that review.
Motion by Councilmember Wallace to waive the City of Halstead purchase policies and to authorize staff to obtain goods and services with appropriate vendors as identified by staff, as well as sign and execute necessary documentations for projects as found on the CRF Direct Aid application as submitted by the City of Halstead and approved by Harvey County and the state of Kansas. Seconded by Councilmember Torres.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that carries unanimously. We're going to skip around executive session for now and move straight to reports. And we'll start with governing body, and I'm going to pick on Denise and start with you tonight. Okay. Mr. Farman? Mr. Wallace?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Torres?
Yes, I have something. I don't know if any of you have, but I've been receiving calls from citizens requesting for us to take a look once again at having an animal control officer. I understand why we canceled or closed the office or position a while back, Sedgwick opting out, but anyways, citizens are bringing it up, and so I'm bringing it up, so maybe we want to discuss this at a next meeting, next time we're together, but I'll put that out there for y'all.
How many calls we received, Richard?
About 5, and then I've got a bunch of messages here.
Nothing, sir.
George will take that into consideration. Maybe Ethan can look at something and put it on for discussion. All right, we're going to move on to the manager report. That's you, Ethan.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Public Works crews dealt with a water main break and a pump failure at a lift station in the past few weeks. Crews have also been working on grading for McNair 10th and 14th, some limited alley work, and a new gas service line. Regarding the AMI project, we now have 95% of the gas system upgraded to the radio reads, and around 10% of the water meters have been switched out to those new meters that are also radio reads. Public Works staff have also been doing repairs or replacement on water services as they're identified during the AMI project. We have some more services that just need updated that have been found. And then the city also had our annual levy inspection on Wednesday the 26th. and we are awaiting the final report from that visit, but I will note that the Corps was very complimentary of Pat and Public Works staff on the job they do maintaining the levee project and its overall condition. And they look at a lot of levees, so it's always nice to hear that from them. Tasha Hoover has been hired to fill the new position of Public Safety / Court Clerk, which will be based out of the Police Department. This position will include administrative duties for the police and fire EMS, as well as court clerk, probation, and EMS billing. Tasha has a background in dispatch and public safety, and we want to welcome her to the city. The police department continues their review process for updates to their policy and operation documents. Since last meeting, the police department has had 85 calls for service, 27 traffic stops, and 22 cases. The Durango was temporarily out of service due to a water pump failure, but that issue was covered under warranty for the vehicle, so only costs were just transport time to the dealership. Fires had 18 calls, including 4 assists for grass and brush fires in the area and 1 assist for a structure fire. Fire staff are currently working on a fire safety program, which provides materials to teach and promote fire safety and prevention with children, businesses, seniors, and the community as a whole. And they've had 21 donors from the Halstead community commit to provide support for that program. So we thank them, those donors, for that support and their commitment to fire safety. The fire command staff are also continuing planning for training this fall and winter in conjunction with recruitment of new volunteers to serve on the department. The Brush 21 project, it has been finalized with the city having received that transfer title from the state of Kansas for fulfilling the terms of putting the donated vehicle into service with the department. I will note that we also took possession of a 6x4 Gator through this donation program with the Kansas Forest Service, and that will be used to replace the existing Polaris UTV, which is nearing the end of its life cycle. Again, we just have to make a few modifications to bring that into service, and then they transfer ownership completely. But doing this is saving the city over $10,000 or more in the purchase of a new UTV for the department, and the unit we were able to obtain is actually not used, so it's very nice, almost brand new unit that we got. So we're pretty happy of that Jim found that, and look forward to getting that project in as our funds allow. EMS is at 412 calls for the year, with recent calls trending about 50-50 in terms of Halstead or Sedgwick locations. Director Lowe has begun the process on ordering approved items from the Spark CRF Direct Aid Plan. EMS staff also worked on updating the city's HIPAA program and training with the addition of new staff and changes to the EMS billing personnel. Funds have been developed to support sports standbys for both USD 440 and USD 439 for football and cross country. EMS also brought on a new EMT who recently completed their written and practical exams, and EMT courses is sponsored by the department. Staff continues work on the community CPR program in conjunction with the Learning Center for Health and implementing the new quality assurance program for the department. Which would see staff continue to work on coordinating upcoming departments and league play. Continues at the course with a new league playing now on Wednesday nights. In addition to the normal mowing and upkeep, staff also completed aerification and sanding of the greens just prior to the rain. And then Bryant completed work on a new sand bunker for sand storage in the parking lot as part of those general improvements to that area. Parks and Recreation saw the closure of the pool to the public on August 30th, and then the doggy swim was held yesterday with 15 dogs and 27 humans, as observed by Grant, for that pool session. In the interim weeks, we did allow Halstead High to have their advanced PE classes utilize the pool. Grant lifeguarded those. Volleyball is underway for grades 3 through 6, and match play began last Saturday. We are adhering to USD 440's guidelines and policies regarding participant wellness and screening before using their facilities, just in case anyone was concerned about that. And work should be wrapping up this week on the softball field's infield shale to improve the compaction and water management, and then mowing and fertilization continue in many areas. And you'll notice water reels are set up and running at Williams Park as we are preparing to oversee that for increased usability for soccer and kickball that has been going on there. Finance and administration staff continue training with the consolidation of duties and positions and the transition to the AMI system. Staff also worked on finalizing our budget book for submission to GFOA, filling out renewal information with K-Camp for property and liability insurance, closing and reconciliation of August financials with the city treasurer, 6 new utility setups, and then working with the insurance consultant, likewise, on getting multiple quotes for our health insurance renewal this year. And then I wanted to point out to all of you that the League Annual Conference is being held this year. It's October 13th through the 16th, but it's a virtual conference. There are live sessions, but any participant who registers will also have access to the recordings of all those because they understand, we're fitting other things into our schedule. We do get a discount if 4 or more attend, so please make sure you check your emails and the LKN website for more details on the conference as it's sent out. And just let myself or Jamie know if you would like to register no later than Wednesday the 23rd.
Anybody have any questions for Ethan on his report? I guess I'm gonna pick on him a little bit tonight because I've got a few questions. First, the EMS call number you give us, is that considerably more than what we've normally seen this time of year? Because it seems a little higher to me.
They're back trending. It's actually probably slightly lower because we did see decreased call volume, especially like in March and April at the beginning of the COVID. I mean, just across the board, people weren't dialing 911 quite as much or didn't want to go to the hospital for every little thing. But it has picked up significantly starting in May.
The other thing I had on the AMI system, are we getting live data in here to City Hall now?
Yes, we're beginning to get some live data and we're working right now on the software side. Correct me if I'm wrong, they're trying to get it in the right CSV
Yeah,
file.
we've got to get some more water meters in before we actually start trying to integrate with the billing system, but we do see the hardware side of it, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting readings, but we're not putting them into our financial software yet.
Good.
When do you anticipate the gas, which apparently is going to be done substantially well ahead of water, do you suspect that the billing will be done on the gas side?
We're hoping to, on the gas side, to use those if they can finish up and get that with this next month's bills. We will be looking at estimates and started that process on the water side because we're in between systems. So
How do you expect to transition from a delayed billing to a current read?
So we're doing an estimate, which is based off of previous history, for households that we know have had, the same users of the utilities. We're going back and looking at last year, and then we're taking actually the lower flow of months to hopefully, it's easier for us to correct an underestimate than an overestimate with that switch. For anyone that's new, we're looking at just the previous months as much as we can to try and get those estimates as accurate as possible. And then we will do a true up when they actually do the conversion. And should be able to basically, like we do anytime someone's had a water meter change, they'll have the estimate number to their actual and then their new point, everyone's basically starting at zero again and moving forward.
And that'll be on the water side only,
Water
correct?
side.
Gas has always been.
Yeah, gas, they just programmed the registers with the existing readings to my knowledge.
Now, were you asking about billing actual?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the billing side because we're
Okay.
dealing with a late read when we're reading the meters, and then we are going to have current information when we have the automatic read.
Right,
We're 2 months
and initially, so there's a gap in there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
So initially, what we're gonna wind up doing, at least till we know the system's stable, is staying with that delayed billing. And then how we make that transition, I'm not sure we've completely come up with an actual way to do that yet.
yeah, because there could be some households out there that get slapped with a big bill.
That could be
Yeah.
important. That could be important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I say that will definitely be phased in or well communicated to our utility
That's
customers.
probably even gonna be a next year,
Okay.
after the
Do
first
you
of the
think
year.
could that be presented as an option to each individual user?
Probably
Me,
not.
I would just assume,
We're either gonna have to do it or not.
Yeah, I think-
I don't think you can do it for one and not for another.
That kind of makes sense to me too. It's gotta be all learned.
Yeah, but is there a way to maybe, even if it's with everybody, right? Is
Yeah.
there a way to, let's say they're used to their water bill being $50 a month, delayed by 2 months, and then we're gonna catch them up, so then it's gonna be $150.
Yeah,
Is there a way that we can spread that out over 3 or 4 months to offset that cost a little bit for them?
yeah, we've tried it, even that's how we approached utility billing, during the pandemic, months where people were potentially not going into work or something and shut-offs were voluntarily and then mandated by the governor not to be done. That's basically what we told people, just communicate with us, make plans, and we'll get you caught up as best as we can without pushing it. So
2020 or something.
Yeah, something like
yeah,
that.
for immediate billing, yeah, Pat is absolutely correct. We plan to keep the arrears billing until we're sure and comfortable with the reads getting in and how that's integrating into billing, and then we'll slowly look at hopefully getting us out of the 2 months of arrear.
Ethan, that is in your capable hands. If I hear any complaints, I'm gonna say, talk to Ethan.
Yeah, we're all pretty comfortable with the estimating process, but it's also, it is new waters for all of us, so there is gonna be learning as we go.
Okay, the last item on my list of questions for your managerial report are our new police clerk. Feel free to extend an invitation to her to introduce herself to the council at the next meeting if you'd like.
I will pass that on.
Other than that, do you have a financial report for us this evening?
I do.
We will move to that.
Overall, the city continues to see a decline in our cash balance across budgeted funds as compared to our previous fiscal year. The majority of this decrease is due to the general fund, and that is largely due to the year-end cash and carryover being lower for 2019 into 2020 than it was 2018 into 2019. Although I will point out that even though it was lower, still above projections that we had when we did the budget, so we're very much in good shape. Other funds you will see a substantial difference in on your budgeted fund summary report there in front of you is bond and interest, and that difference is due just to the timing of that newest bond payment we have that's due in September 1st, where in previous fiscal years all the payments were due October 1st. So we had one payment that hits a month sooner than it used to. And then gas is down, and that is due to lower gas prices and consumption demand, but again, the way our rate structure is, it's not causing any due amount of concern for the gas. The recreation fund also shows as being in the negative, but that will be brought back up this month, actually, following the reimbursement from the rec commission for summer expenses. Expenditures across all of the budgeted funds continue to run at or below expectations, with the general fund running about 5% below where our estimates for this time of year normally would be. So kudos to the department heads for continuing to watch those expenditures. General fund revenue continues to see some positive trends. We've not seen any major shortages or lag in property or sales tax collection so far, and that was something that we were afraid might happen. And Wedgewood Golf Course continues to see increased revenues. Currently, they're 30% over in revenue compared to their previous fiscal year. So that has been a very nice positive to have with everything else going on. There are some big negatives still, though, namely income from our interest, or mainly income from our investment income and then franchise fees, and those decreases do put overall pressure on the other revenues. I will also note that we're currently holding scheduled capital transfers in the general fund until the end of the quarter, or possibly even the end of the year, simply as a precautionary measure at this point. If the noted trends continue as far as sales and property tax collection staying steady, and other revenues coming in above expectations, we are pretty positive that we should be able to make all those transfers as scheduled by the end of the year. Our utility funds continue to be in healthy shape with revenues at or above expectations and expenses at or below. This has allowed for the utility transfers to their reserves and the capital funds to continue without interruption, unlike the general fund. And the largest dip in our overall financial situation can actually be observed on our city capital improvement and equipment. And that is due to the purchase or paying for the AMI project and the wheel loader. Again, I will note that those were planned expenditures, but over $400,000 was paid out last month, so that did drop our equipment balance, substantially from where you guys would have seen it at the end of July. But the positive note is that we're not incurring any other interest type payments or anything, as we bought that equipment outright with cash. So we should just have the normal life cycle costs that we would have had for the equipment regardless. The capital improvement fund does see a slight increase from the previous month as we begin transferring the additional sales tax money to that capital improvement fund as we met the needed amount for the bond payments on the swimming pool. And as noted, we will be looking and are hopeful that transfers, including possibly the remaining capital transfer for streets even, can be made by the end of the fiscal year if our current trends continue. So pretty simple, in good shape, nothing major of note, and some positives and still some big negatives, but we're doing good.
Any questions for Ethan on that report, council? Okay, we will now move to the last item on our agenda this evening, and that is an executive session. And I'll entertain that motion, just as soon as Ethan gets done writing it out.
Mayor, I make a motion that the city council recess into executive session for 60 minutes to discuss pending contract negotiations pursuant to a consultation with an attorney on matters that would be deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship, exception KSA 75-4319B2. In addition to the governing body, city manager, city attorney.
Sorry.
Like it's a question. Brad, I guess you're invited. Open meeting and governing body to reconvene at 8:35.
Second.
Okay, we got the motion and second. We'll go to Jamie for clarification and review of that.
Motion by Councilmember Campbell to move that the Halstead City Council recess into executive session for 60 minutes to discuss pending contract negotiations pursuant to the consultation with an attorney on matters that would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship exception KSA 75-4319B2, and ask that in addition to the governing body, the following persons join the governing body in executive session: the city manager and city attorney, with the open meeting and governing body to reconvene in the city council chamber at 8:35 p.m. Seconded by Councilmember Torres.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
She
We'll
does
be
it so much
moving into
better.
executive session.
In his inbox.
Wait, got the MLAs out of lockup.
Okay, we're back from our executive session. Was there any action to be taken as a result of that? Seeing no movement from the council, that will conclude our agenda this evening, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Would you like to review that, Jamie?
Motion by Councilmember Wallace to adjourn the Halstead City Council meeting at 8:35 p.m., seconded by Councilmember Torres.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.